So really quickly, we're setting up a game here that has this one NPC character. He's got very simple logic set up in him. He's got an object changer here that's going to change the model. We've got the particle effect that is going to set what his particle trail is. And then we have the mover, which is going to make him move straight forward. We have this look at that targets this cube in the background, and that's just so that the character does something once we spawn him. It's kind of unimportant for this demo. So the old method, if we wanted to have 6 different versions of this guy over here, you can see I have 6 different models that I'm going to be working with today. We would just copy paste this, right? And we would set up each one individually. What model does it need? How fast should he go? And if you can imagine an actual NPC, which would have a lot more logic in here, you're probably going to have a bunch of other things going on too. You might have like animations, a bunch of different values that need to be set. Maybe he's got like, he can do an attack, so he's got like a damage value when he does attacks, all kinds of stuff, right? So you can imagine in here, you might have a ton of parameters that you have to set up individually for each one of these NPC characters. But with the new data structs, it's much easier. We can do all of that in one place. We can have one reusable here that just gets all of that data when it is spawned and becomes the guy he needs to be, right? So what we're going to do is we are going to create a data struct or data structure. Sorry, everybody here calls it structs, so I'm probably going to call it that a lot. Data structure is the proper name. We're going to get into the nodes. It's going to be in the logic sections right near the beginning there because that's alphabetical. We have data structure. So now we open this up. There's not a whole lot in the node yet. We have to configure it first. So we're going to go edit here, and we can choose a data structure, right? I have a couple here already because I've already been testing this. But just for the sake of argument, let's say we create a new one. This is going to be character config 3. And then we're going to edit what kind of data we want to save in this data structure. And we can save all kinds of different data, and we can have a number of these, right? So in our case, we need a number for the speed. We need a object for the model. And we need a particle effect for the trail. And again, we could add a bunch more stuff in there, save as much of this as we want. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to go and I'm going to click character config 2 because we already have character config 2 set up. But that's how you create a data structure, right? So you go in here, you hit new if you want to make a new one, the plus up in the corner there, and then you add all the different pieces of data that you need to have in your data structure. And then, of course, we can go here. Once we have one selected, we can edit the parameters. We can delete parameters. We can add more parameters, whatever we need to do there. And then if we want to, directly in this data structure, we can then set the values for this character. But we're going to be sharing those values from a different source, so we don't need to worry about that right now. We just need to have this set up. And now you can see in the data structure node, we have outputs for each of our data types. We have the speed output, we have the model output, and we have the trail. And let's go ahead right now and we'll connect those to where they need to go. So the speed is going to go to value A on this math operator. I am going to use execute links here because I want everything, I want to be able to control the order that things execute in. It's a little bit easier for me. Speed goes to the math operator. The model is going to go to the source of our object changer. Again, I want to execute that when I send the model to it. And then finally, the trail is going to go to the emitted effect of our particle effect. We want to use calculated value here. So now when this character config gets executed, it's going to share whatever data it is getting from the data structure to all of these nodes. So how are we going to do that? We are going to set up a list. You can see I have one here set up already, but again, let's just take a look at how we would do that. So we would go into our list here and we would say our element type is going to be data structure. And then we need to select which data structure we want. Again, so right now we're working with character config 2. If, for example, we want to work with the new one we made, we hit character config 3. And then we go up here to edit initial values. Yeah, one node to rule them all, PT Jones says. Exactly. So we go to edit initial values, and then we just add how many initial values we want to have. In our case, we would have 6. So let's just add 6, right? And now we can go through, and right here in one node, we can set up all of our different NPCs, right? So I can set the speed value, let's say like 3. We set which model this is going to be from the list there. One thing to keep in mind here is anything you want to be adding here, you're going to need to give it a name. As you just saw, it's going to give you a menu with a list, and you need to select the object you want from that list. So you want to make sure you're naming your objects. And then finally, we have a dust or a trail. And we would go through and do that for all of them. Obviously, I have one down here that I've already set up, right? We have the speed, we have the model, and we have the trail for all of our different players. And we have 6 different ones. Obviously, again, we can add as many as we want. We can keep going on top of that. But for this, that's what we need. So now, down here, I have a little spawner set up. I'm not going to build this live. I'm just going to explain what's happening here, but it's pretty straightforward. So I have a UI node that has in it the numbers. I have the 6 different guys. So what the number pad is doing is it's sending a value to this number node, and that value is going to be the index that we want to pull from that list, right? So we have 6 items in the list, which means we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are the indexes that we're working with. We set the index that we want, and then we execute the spawner. The spawner is just set up to spawn this reusable, our character test. After it spawns the reusable, it sends that reusable to this broadcaster named config as the target. And then we have a list value inspector that is targeted to our character configs list over here. And that is just getting its index from that number node. And then get value at index, it's passing through that config broadcaster. And what it is sending through that config broadcaster is the whole data structure for that index, right? So if we send it index 3, we're going to look here, index 3, we're going to get speed of 5, we're going to get the squid man, and we're going to get the freeze trail. But of course, we haven't totally set that up yet. So the last step we need here in our character reusable, we're going to add a broadcast listener. One really important thing here as we're setting this up is it should be targeted to your main object in the reusable. In this case, that is our player. Of course, we're going to want to set this up to be the config signal. And then on signal received, we're going to send that into the data structure. And again, we're going to execute that so that it passes all that data along to the various nodes that need it. And if I set everything up here, that should be working. I'm going to turn off that number because that was just there for testing purposes. And now we should be able to play this. Spawn a guy. There he goes. That guy's kind of slow. This guy's a little bit faster. 3 is this pink girl. 4, we got the squid guy. 5, we got the squid woman. And 6, we have this green guy. And now they all get destroyed when they get to that. That's just so that I didn't fill up the thing with a bunch of spawned characters just running around chasing this cube. Last night when I was struggling to get this working, we discovered a little bug with the data structures. Worth mentioning here for you guys, there is a few data types in the data structure that can cause some issues. So essentially what was happening was I was running an animation through the data structure, which it should be able to handle, and it will be able to handle when the bug is fixed. But for some reason, the animation was causing other elements in the data structure to execute multiple times, and it was messing things up. Again, worth mentioning if you're going to be working with this data structure, if we look at that, so we have confirmed that animation and PixArt will cause currently some issues with the data structure. So I would recommend for now not using those two until this gets fixed. But the team's already working on a fix, so I imagine we should get that Fingers crossed, next update.